Already going live for the open. Groupon. Where's here we are. I gotta make sure that I talk. Oh. If you're watching this in hindsight, just skip forward 3 minutes. Market opens in 11 minutes from now. And then we'll get started. Alrighty, almost. Live on YouTube. Post. Okay, last little bit. We got one person in here. Say hi in the chat. Slowly. I don't know how to name these lives. There we go. All right. Just as a recap, I originally found this stock. I was looking for high short interest names that are making money. I can't stomach buying a short squeeze stock very well if there's nothing basing it, right? Groupon I found had a pretty good free cash flow. I was like, interesting. And despite that, it's still highly shorted. So I'm like, okay, well, Avis is taking off. But then Avis starts falling apart, and I start, reassessing where I am. And I'm looking at the website. Because the funny thing is, everyone says the same thing. They're like, Groupon's still around. Some people use it. 16.2 million people are some of those people. And a lot of people are like, I didn't know Groupon was still a thing. I'd been pitched it a good amount of times as a small cap, deep value play over the past few years. I remember when it IPO'd, it was one of the hottest stocks ever. It was right after the global financial crisis. Consumers are weak. They're looking for deals. The counter-cyclical element, I will say again, people don't really understand on Groupon. But it was mismanaged for a decade and a half. To the founder's credit, let's go really way far back. To the founder's credit, he still owns 10%. But, calling balls and strikes, very, very mismanaged. Holy cow. That's the story, right? So when it IPOs, it was a super, super freaking hot stock, right? Numbers were great, consumer struggling, slow recovery, mismanaged a lot. And you kind of think, why was this, of all the apps out there, and I think that's a little bit of the stank on it. It's like, well, it should have done well. Yeah, well, it was mismanaged. So I start looking into it more, and I'm like, oh, okay. there's a lot of room for improvement. Then I'm thinking, okay, like let me just read all the sell side reports. Let me read all the let me go pit up shareholders. I've had success with that in the past, but a lot of success on Groupon. People love to talk about this stock because they think if they're in it, they think it's extremely undervalued. And I think they're right. Now, working through like what the KPIs are for this stock. Hello, people. I'm seeing it now. Seeing the chat. I can't turn it up anymore. It's all I got. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how the gain might be worse for you guys, but I'll just try to speak into it. Where was I? Oh yeah, thinking about the KPIs of this business. Like obviously, any business growth, right? Growth's always important. So I'm looking through the growth rate, and there's a lot of stuff that happened last year. So I think that this business is growing better than the numbers seem. There's weather events, tough weather. A lot of grannies got logged off when they replatformed, which is kind of like really funny, and they didn't know how to log back in. And those were like the most loyal customers. What else? They had their whole website go down for three weeks, and still they're growing for the first time in a decade. So then it's like, oh, okay, growth, KPI, probably undervalued. Then I'm looking at, retention, right? Like you can acquire a customer. That's an important metric. But also how much is that customer worth? So as of now, the average user of Groupon only comes back another time and a third, right? Like they use it. They might use it again in the year. And then if, there's the 80-20 rule, right? There's some like really loyal customers and a lot of one-offs. Got to make the one-offs better, right? So that would help growth, but that's also pure profit because you're not acquiring those customers. You're not marketing and spending for those customers. You already got them. You're just making them go, ideally, further. So that's retention, and that's what my main focus today is. Coming out with a press release. It's picked up by Reuters, and that's basically, you don't even need growth, right? In users, you just need to make these guys go further. And I think they will get growth in users if they just make the platform better. So it's pretty simple, right? Like you say, like, oh, but how are you going to get from 2.3 turns to 3.3 turns? Meaning like how many times the customers come back per year. You got to make them feel like more of a platform than feel like a place you go and you want to get out of as quick as possible. So that's really the user experience, something that Apple is so great at. They don't have to be Apple. They just have to be a little bit better than this. Like this looks like the back of a magazine, right? This looks like the coupon section in a magazine. All this like $10 off local deal. Like, no, we don't like that. It needs to feel better. And it needs to feel like a thrift shop. I keep on coming back to this idea of like Goodwill. Goodwill's ugly, but it just like has better vibes. For some reason, Goodwill, people think of it in a better way, maybe because it's nonprofit. And additionally, like recommendations have to be better. Let's sort of see what I get, right? Why is there a woman spa deal there? What is this? Yeah, Brazilian wax. Why am I a 31-year-old male that is signed in, right? I'm signed in. Why am I getting that? You think it's pretty easy? They have the data. They have 16 years of data, right? On the consumer and on small business. So I'm just like, it would be pretty easy to improve retention if your recommendations were just better. And maybe when you sign up, they don't do this yet, but maybe you say what you're interested in, just like you do when you sign up for Twitter. So I really think that, like, we're talking about really little tweaks. Do I always use Heiken-Ashi? These aren't Heiken-Ashi. It might look like it because it's squished. I don't have like the super pro version in order to get that. Oh, it is Heiken-Ashi. Oh, let's see. Hollow candles, what's the difference? I don't like that. What's the real difference between this and this? Can someone explain that to me? I know the volume's low. Listen, my mic, I don't get it. I can't turn it up anymore. Do not know what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, the open here, let's look at SPY, because what a hot inflation print. And I bring you back to the fact that, Groupon is finding consumers lower prices and did really well after the Great Recession. So granted, if the market was in a different season, I think we'd be down 1%. I just feel like there's animal spirits everywhere. Look at that. This was overnight. Who knows what that was on. And then looking forward to tomorrow, a lot of room to discuss how the Chinese negotiations are going to affect everything. A lot could come. For me, it's not quite worth thinking about right now, but I'm sure things are going to move. And I don't really see like a lot of like I feel like in negative news are shrugged off, and positive news or like no news is a reason to rally. Markets in animal spirits mode. What's the bear case? That it's a dying business? And it's not. If you look at the numbers, it's not. Yeah, I mean, intelligent bear cases, lower costs to enter and take this marketplace. And, my response is, well, you can invest in a startup company to raise $50 million at a $500 million valuation, or you can invest in a company with $200 million in cash and already has 16.2 million users per year and has a brand that people recognize. They just don't know that it's still around. But when they are told that, I think the game fundamentally changes. So, yeah, I mean, the bear case from Goldman Sachs, who's the lowest on it, like, it's kind of dumb. This edit's kind of annoying. Like, no shit. What are you asking for there, right? Do not call for management. Like, someone was on the line, like, do not, like, they had to put that in at Reuters. Like, what? Do not call? Come on now, Reuters. You can do better than that. I think TradingView kind of sucks ass, to be honest. It raised a lot of money. The reason why I think that Groupon and platforms are going to survive for the most part, not all of them, but survive the age of AI, is because they already have the customers, and it's really easy for them to improve too, right? When their foot's to the fire, it's really easy to improve. For a big platform, maybe it's harder, right? If they're acting like a legacy company, it's not good. But if you can behave like a startup, and Dushan, the CEO, he's a tech turnaround guy. He's smart, and believe that he has the right direction in mind. I just think maybe the strategy could use some fine tuning. When I go talk to him now that the press release is out, he might say like, "Yeah, I know." He might be like, "Yeah, I know, we're doing that," but he hasn't said publicly. But he also kind of plays his cards close to his chest, because he just wants to build value over time. He had to right the ship. That took a lot of work. I got a text. Interesting. I'm getting some color. Phone's been ringing off the hook. It is really hard. I can do a lot of stuff. One man shop. I work hard. The only thing is trying to figure out like, who am I supposed to talk to? My calendar never helps. So could do better on that. But listen, markets right now. First of all, I'm seeing a lot of great opportunities. I'm seeing good trading setups. I'm not too concerned with that right now. If you want one, pay attention to Pang. This is actually still decently cheap. Unlike Wolf, that's making no money. Pang's making money, and there's a bull case on it. So we'll see about that. And generally, I think that it's animal spirits time. The reason why, I'm looking for investments. Really, like it's great to make a couple grand trading a stock, $5,000, $10,000, whatever. And then you're on to the next one. You find a good one, you can just hold on to that for quite a long time, and hopefully longer than shorter. Hopefully longer than shorter. You feel me? But yeah, you guys. So how many people we have in here now? People come off Twitter. If you're on Twitter, do me a favor, subscribe, and then it's a good idea, I think, to. Wolf is going crazy. The whole SiC stuff, silicon carbide stuff, is hot. Now, Wolf kinda is like not even a source. It just got added to Morgan Stanley's silicon carbide basket. That means nothing. But the market's going to do what it's going to do, and is a 33% short interest. Now, the float is not, it's smaller than people think, but where is that also the case for? It is also the case for Groupon by like a lot more. I think only 10 million shares of this company have any ability to trade, unless insiders start selling, which they've been buying a lot. But Wolf 33% short, Groupon 60% short. But that's still enough. Car was only 30 something percent short. Granted, Avis was like actually cornered. Wolf's not cornered. They also have warrants out, but it's just right sector, people talking about power, and therefore has the potential to go up. You know what I mean? I can't turn the volume up. I can only speak louder. It's really ridiculous. I don't get it. Hold up. Let me see. Volume. It's all the way up on here. You see that? Okay. Sync offset. Okay. How about that? Oh, we're actually going to get somewhere. Sorry. Maybe better now? A little bit better? Too loud? No, I think that's better. Okay. That's too, see that it goes into the yellow zone. I'm not the sound engineer, people. I am not the sound engineer. Um, um, but okay, if I just figured that out, that would be a pretty nice thing to figure out. To be frank, this kind of makes sense. Do you guys like understand that the wolf thing? I don't know if you're on social media. People try to find a reason for it. Nothing. The only thing I could find was that Morgan Stanley added it to the basket, which they did for institutions a while ago. I'm trying to be like pretty fucking laser focused on the opportunities that are orthogonal to the market. Another good one's XNet, actually. XNet's top, definitely top 5. It might be number 3, but I mean Groupon just dwarfs my PA. But XNet's up there too, and you guys can go to Substack for this one. I'm not activist, so I'll put a little bit behind the paywall, but it's a very interesting orthogonal story, mostly a balance sheet play. And Groupon is a tech stack. I don't think it's really considered a tech stack. Everything, what you got to understand is like 10-year, right? Let's look at the 10-year. I'm sure that's good enough. Okay. If the cost of capital goes up, all equities get cheaper. Now, some equities get way more cheaper than other equities. If you're long duration equities, meaning a growth stock, meaning low free cash flow yield, that means you're going to go down more. And potentially people still have to buy equities, so they'll rush into the, sub 10%, over 10% free cash flow, which is not a lot of stocks, but it's not nothing either. Typically, small cap value stocks do better when rates are going higher. And that doesn't mean financials. If you look at the Russell, will hide this, but you X out all the financials and the small caps, actually they do pretty well. And there's not a lot of people that look after small cap stocks anymore. Jack's a good example, right? I talked about Jack a little bit. Okay. Now, people are upset about the consumer. They do not understand Jack sells $20 toys. Okay. Consumer gets tightened. They're going to buy more $20 toys, not less, because they don't want to buy $200 Lego sets, right? Jack's going to have, over the next year, I think $4 in 2026. $4 EPS might be $3.50. The stock's at $22. Okay, so that's not a long duration equity, right? Groupon is about 10% free cash flow yield if you look at price to free cash flow, based on at least 60 mil. I mean, I think you can safely assume 70 mil, right? Because they have a negative working cash model. So if they have growth, their free cash flow is above EBITDA. If they don't have growth, their free cash flow is below EBITDA. So I think that they're going to get $70 million of EBITDA. It's not 70. Way over that. Management guide on EBITDA is 70 to 75, and then they say at least 60. It's important to understand that the 70 to 75 does not equal 60 million of free cash flow. It equals more like 80. There's not a lot of volume, but someone's selling. What is that volume? 1,000 shares. What was I going to say? I'm tired. I was up at 2 a.m. I don't know, Brune. Not too loud. Is it good now, guys? So the 270, like, look at the cash, right? they got $200 million of cash, and they got 270 sounds about right at less than 5% yield when the 10 years at 4.5% yield. The way I think this is going to go, those converts are going to become shares at $54. Like you shouldn't be allergic to debt. That's actually like very favorable debt to the company. It's a convertible note, high strike, low cost. They have free cash flow. They can more than cover it. 5% on 300 million to just round it off. $15 million per year. Their free cash flow is going to be at least 60. So no, that's not a concern. And I think that they should take the cash down by ripping the buyback. Get as many shares as possible, please. Anyway, you guys are asking a lot of questions about other stuff. I'm happy to discuss that on Discord or Substack, which I'm going to go take care of now. Anyway, I'm excited because now that there's a press release, I can reach out to management, and I think it's going to be very productive. All right, guys. See ya.